So Tecfidera is our oral medication to treat relapsing forms of MS. Tecfidera was approved in 2013 after successful pivotal phase 3 studies named Define and Confirm, which demonstrated approximately a 50% reduction in relapses and effect on disability. Obviously, we have the patients in our pivotal studies that are now in extension study. It's called Endorse, and we're presenting some of the new data from that extension study. So patients have been on treatment under clinical trials for approximately 6 years, 2 years in the phase 3 studies and an additional 4 years in the extension, and we're presenting data both on efficacy and safety of the patients in that cohort. What the study shows is that patients who have received 6 years of therapy, whether they started initially on treatment or received placebo in the studies and then went to Tecfidera in the extension, if they started on treatment versus having that delayed start to treatment, there was approximately a 60% reduction in the effect of those two things. So there's definitely a benefit from starting on treatment early, and I think other studies have shown that, and I think Tecfidera now has that data as well. And I think additionally what it showed is that they continue to have a benefit. So when you look at the annualized relapse rate, or the number of relapses patients have each year, it continues to show a very low relapse rate. So the benefits for efficacy continue. From the atrophy side, over a 6-year period, those patients that have been on therapy for 6 years show a very low rate of brain atrophy, 0.34%, which really is quite low, and I think it supports, again, the effects of Tecfidera and the benefits that patients may see. Obviously, in that study, we are looking at safety as well, and it's obviously important to continue to monitor safety because in the clinical trial, you're only looking at a subset of the population, and only for a short period of time. So we have continued those studies, and the data with respect to safety is consistent with what we saw in the phase 2 study. So within that trial, there haven't been any new signals. There continues to be a low rate of serious adverse events, and no new signals have shown up. When we're looking at the relapses over time, it stays at a very low rate. So they're approximately having 0.14 annualized relapse rate, so that's really quite low. And if it was 0.1, that would translate into 1 relapse every 10 years, so we're about 1 relapse every 7 years. And when patients that started on placebo and went to that, they had a higher rate, and we're seeing in that group, about the same amount of relapse potential. So it's maintaining. I think it built up in the first couple of years, and then the patients really are staying at a very well-controlled relapse rate. I think we're really excited about the fact that there are options now for patients that have MS, and it's important that all these options are available, and we think that Tecfidera is a really important option. I think what is special and unique about Tecfidera is you have a elevated efficacy compared to the 30% that we saw in our standard platform interferons and glutaminyl acetate. The safety profile really has held up from the clinical trials, so we see the main issues are with tolerability. Granted, we have seen PML since the clinical studies, but we've only seen 3 cases, and we think that we can monitor and mitigate some of the risk through having physicians monitor lymphocyte counts. We have a positive benefit risk profile, and of course the convenience of having an oral dosing. So we think it really is a very viable and useful medication for a wide spectrum of patients, from those early in their disease course or those that have either needle fatigue or switching from a current platform therapy. So the medication is a capsule, and it's taken orally. You take 1 capsule in the morning and 1 capsule with your meal in the evening. One of the things about Tecfidera is that it has a unique mechanism of action, and obviously we're still working at fully elucidating that mechanism of action, but we know that it works at least in part through a pathway called NRF2, which is a natural endogenous pathway to counteract the effects of inflammation and antioxidant. It's an antioxidant pathway. It probably also modulates the immune system. So we don't know fully how it works, but we do know that it's different than the other medications, and we think that different mechanisms of actions are valuable for patients because patients seem to have an individualized response to therapy, so we need to have options. You know, I think that what we know about Tecfidera is it can be used after switching directly from first-line therapy, and in fact in our clinical studies patients received both Avonex as a rescue and glatiramer and switched directly to Tecfidera, and of course we didn't see any signal in that extension study. So we believe that that's a safe alternative, and physicians and patients can feel comfortable switching. And then it has a very short half-life, so with respect to washouts or having to wait, you know, Tecfidera is quite forgiving, or it's easy to switch from other medications to Tecfidera. I mean, I think it's really important to continue to monitor the patients in that extension study so that we can continue to understand how they're doing. That's our biggest set of data. And we continue to do real-world studies because obviously clinical trials, you have a selected population, and we really need to see how it performs with patients in the real world. And I think that you know, we continue to be really encouraged by the long-term results with this therapy, and I'm sure we'll continue to find exciting new and fascinating attributes of it over time.